Welcome to Parent Boss Leader, the podcast where we explore leadership and innovation in the staffing industry. Brought to you by ATR International, I'm Laura Munson, an experienced staffing executive and a multitasking busy modern mom, sharing insights to help you lead and empower your team. Tune in, subscribe, and elevate your leadership because building a great team starts with great insight. Hello, and welcome to the podcast powered by ATR International, where we dive into the journeys of leaders across various industries to uncover their stories, insights, and values. I'm your host, Laura Munson, Vice President of Strategic Partnerships at ATR International, a leading staffing firm based in Santa Clara, California. Today, we're honored to have Kerry with us. With nearly 2 decades in HR, Kerry brings a wealth of knowledge in operational excellence, talent development, and creating culturally agile teams. Kerry, thank you for joining us today. To start, could you share a bit about your personal and professional journey? And how did you get into human resources?
Yeah, great. And thanks, Laura. Happy to be here. Looking forward to the conversation today. And just to kick us off, I fell into HR completely by accident. So, as I was going through my undergraduate degree, I was specializing in languages, primarily Spanish, and people and cultural studies. And so, when I was about to graduate and started looking for jobs, I really was just looking for something that would allow me to continue using my Spanish, let me work with people from different places, cultures. This was a passion area of mine. And happened across a posting at Medtronic back in Minneapolis, where I'm from. They were looking for a bilingual HR representative supporting kind of your frontline basic HR inquiries for both US employees as well as Puerto Rico. So getting to use my Spanish in support of the Puerto Rico employees at the time.
That's so awesome to hear about your background too. I always laugh because you and I met when we were little peanuts at Medtronic. I remember you
Yep,
sharing about benefits. I was the site
yep.
generalist, and we've really kind of continued in our careers over the years and just following you. I feel you have so much wealth of info to even share with the world. So, jumping into the questions, for your career journey with over 19 years in HR, what first drew you to the field, and how have your experiences shaped your approach to operational excellence and talent development?
Yeah, absolutely. Great. A lot of important areas to focus on. And so, as I mentioned, kind of in our introduction, I just kind of happened across HR and fell into it to be able to use my Spanish and support. In that first role, 90% of the questions I answered for the employee population were related to benefits,
Yeah.
payroll, comp, stock administration. And so there was an opening that came open as a benefits analyst. So I was like, all right, I kind of like this HR. I got a feel for it, getting to be in kind of your traditional HR call center, answering questions about a variety of HR roles. I'm going to try this benefits rollout, specialize in it a little bit, see if I like that, and go from there. And so that ended up being kind of my first really specialized HR role, learning about benefits, delivering benefit programs, as you mentioned, where we first met. I think I was doing
Mhm.
some benefits training at
Yep.
the site that you were at. So getting a feel for how HR really is responsible for ensuring there is a holistic, positive employee experience through the programs we design and
Mhm.
deliver, and how we
Mhm.
help people understand the impact
Mhm.
in both professional and personal lives. So that's kind of
Yeah.
what kept me in HR, was just getting to be a very critical resource for the employee population and seeing the value that the and programs we bring as an HR function to the rest of the population, how they value that.
Love that. So, really watching you fly up through the ranks through the years, Carrie, watching you, embrace different leadership roles. There's a lot of people out there who really struggle to figure out where to begin for promotional opportunities. What type of strategies would you personally recommend for positioning oneself effectively for promotion and new opportunities?
Yep, absolutely. And I would say too, this is one, if I think back earlier in my career, is one I struggled with at times too, not really having a good sense of which direction I wanted to take my career. I liked human
Yep.
resources, but there are a lot of different parts of human resources that you could spend time in to make sure you're getting a well-rounded perspective. And so one of the things as I reflect back and I think about team members that I've worked with that have been on my team, positioning yourself for advancement and future growth opportunities. First and foremost, the job that you're in, make sure you are doing that to the best of your ability. Take pride in any type
Mm-hmm.
of work that you are supporting, doing,
Mm-hmm.
and make sure that you are highlighting your strengths in the delivery and execution of whatever work that might be. So, first and foremost, like managers are going to recognize a job well done, and those people are going to be the ones that
Yep.
managers think about when they have new opportunities that come up. I would say another thing really is, and this is hard sometimes if you're earlier in your career and you're not really quite sure where you want to end up. If you still want to try a variety of things, think about what are the transferable skills that you can gain from various experiences and how those get
Mm-hmm.
then can position you for other roles that may be in a different function, a different area within the same function, but really
Mm-hmm.
value the same types of skills. And once you start to figure out what you really like, be
Mm-hmm.
clear about what it is you want and find mentors and advocates that can help identify opportunities for you to go in the direction that you want to go. So I'm a firm believer in owning your own development. So once you figure out
Yep.
what that career path is,
Yep.
do what you're doing really well. Continue to
Mm-hmm.
be well versed in what are those new and upcoming skills that can easily
Yep.
transfer, and then
Yep.
find that role that you want to and who can help mentor and guide you to
Yep.
hopefully open that opportunity.
Excellent. I think your advice is very good. It's simple and it's true and it works. Even at ATR, placing different professionals over the years, even we put folks into contract roles who would eventually be hired and then promoted and then they're managers now. And really, there is a single theme. It's do what you do well, highlight what you do, and also find the right advocates and sponsors within the roles. So I thought that was very timeless, good advice you just gave. Wanted to kind of pivot a bit. You're on the podcast Parent Boss Leader. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about being working parents, and sometimes balancing career progression and family responsibilities can be very, very challenging, especially when you're a very engaged parent or the one your kids really rely on a whole lot.
Yeah.
How do you personally navigate this balance, and what advice would you share with other working parents?
And for me, this is not a one size fits all by any means. I think it is very dependent on what your support network looks like, because that looks very different for a lot of individuals, and what you choose to prioritize in your both personal and professional lives. So if I think about myself, for example, I I like to be very involved in my kids' activities. I coach their sports. I like to show up to their games. I like to make sure that I am present for those critical moments in their lives. And
All
sometimes that
right.
means, hey, I can't go to that meeting, or hey, we have to move that meeting so that I can attend whatever activity is on the schedule for that particular day.
Mhm.
And so when I think about just balancing, right, there are going to be things that are my non-negotiables. Like I will absolutely have to be offline at this time every day or every week because of this activity
Mhm.
that I need to be at.
Mhm.
First and foremost, I always get my work done. I am very organized. And so if there is a deliverable that I am owning, I make sure that I still
Mhm.
give that the focused attention it deserves while being present for my family and the
Mhm.
personal aspects of my life. So being very well organized and having the foresight to be like, and admittedly, I'm not amazing at this all the time. Like,
Mhm.
oh, I forgot to block my calendar at 5 o'clock that day, and shoot, someone just put a meeting, and now I have a conflict with a personal
Yeah.
activity. It just
Mhm.
having the foresight to really be organized, know what you need to be present for, make sure you get your deliverables and objectives accomplished, and really
Hmm.
just try to go with the flow and understand that there will be times that priorities will conflict, and you just have to try and proactively manage those as best you can.
Yep.
And one other thing, just to piggyback on to say a little bit more, but I get asked this question a lot. For me, the one thing that I will never give up is my kids are at an age right now where it is really important that I be there for them. And so that's also as I go through the stages of my career, of my personal life as well, knowing what my kids need from me in that moment or in that specific time and making sure that I am creating enough space. I have a very busy job. A lot of things are happening. It can be very stressful at times, but this is what's important for my entire life right now.
Hmm.
And so making
Hmm.
sure that you are giving yourself space and space for the time and attention that that deserves.
Yes, I think that's very true. It can be challenging in the modern work world too. I mean, if we think 50 years ago, women weren't sitting in our seats. They were
Mhm.
with children at home, running
Yeah.
the households. But the ironic part is we're still doing that. Yet at the
Mhm.
same time, we have heavy hitter careers, and often
Mhm.
there's majorly conflicting constraints
Mhm.
in both
Mhm.
roles.
Yep.
And to me, there's more power to us
Mhm.
balancing and learning how to figure that out to make both successful, right? Carrie,
Yep.
employee development is a central part of your approach. What are some key practices or programs that have been successful in helping employees grow and stay motivated?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things, especially as I've led very diverse teams, global teams, so teams from all over the world, making sure that we are taking time to appreciate the diverse backgrounds and cultures we all come from and share those with the broader team. Let us get to know you, and share some of what shaped the individual that we see before us today. So appreciating and celebrating a lot of the differences in the backgrounds that we come from. And I have managed very large teams. I take special time to get to know everyone on a regular basis. I pay attention to when people are giving out recognition. I do a lot of recognition myself. I like to celebrate the accomplishments of the team and take time to get to know
Mhm.
and meet with everyone, even if they're not reporting directly into me, because then I feel like they've got another voice in their leadership structure that can advocate, be a sponsor for them, and help
Mhm.
remove barriers that are preventing them from doing their best work. So, really learning the talent, learning what they're good at, learning their aspirations, and taking the time personally to invest in them for future success.
Part of really growing as an employee too is continuous learning. I know we
Mhm.
chatted a bit about that. It's vital in today's workplace. How do you personally stay updated in your field? What advice do you have for others looking to stay current in HR and beyond?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say if it's a specialist area, there are peer networks and also kind of social networks that I engage in. So, for example, for me, I really like the HR operations space. That is my wheelhouse. It's operational excellence, it's continuous improvement, it's HR service delivery. So what I try to do is leverage my peer network to stay up with
Mhm.
like trends, but then there are also some networks that specialize really in HR operating model and service delivery, making sure that I am attending conferences or reading articles that talk about new and upcoming trends within this space so that I can always be thinking about the way that we're delivering our service today. How does that need to change to keep up with the pace and the growth of the company, or
Mhm.
just to redesign so we can deliver in a different way? New
Mhm.
technology is always becoming more readily available. So, how are we continuing to incorporate that? So,
Mhm.
leveraging a very extensive network and also researching on my own externally with some of the external networks that I am a member of to really
Mhm.
stay current with what should I be thinking about in the space that
Mhm.
I own for the
Mhm.
future success of my team and company.
Love that. I think that's great advice. So let's talk a little bit about building a legacy as a parent and
Sure.
HR leader. What legacy or values do you hope to pass on to your children, particularly in the areas of work ethics, leadership, and personal growth?
Yeah, absolutely. This will be a big one, I think, especially for those that are in human resources roles. People matter. People
Mm-hmm.
matter. I know sometimes when you get in large organizations and it
Yeah.
becomes so much about delivering for, shareholders and that sort of thing, don't ever forget about the people that helped your company get to where it is today and make sure that even when hard decisions have to be made, you are taking care of the most critical asset in my mind for that
Mm-hmm.
company. So people
Mm-hmm.
matter. And I really, when I think back on like leaders I've had or the way that I lead or different roles that I've had, making sure that we're treating everyone with respect and care,
Mm-hmm.
and we have clear objectives defined for us to really set us up for success from the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. And so
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I am taking the time to get to know the team, to understand the work, to figure out the strategy and the direction of the company and how our work shows up in that
Yeah.
direction. So I want to be a leader that inspires people to a common cause and really creates the type of environment for my team that they can flourish in. They can come to work, be themselves, do good work and be productive, but then also really feel like we are a unified team and we
Mm-hmm.
support each other and we continue to look for ways to make our experience and the experience of the employees that we serve a positive one.
Amazing. I already know you're a great leader, Kerry.
Yes.
I've watched you in action, but you live out every day. People matter. That is important. I think when we get too focused on the actual accomplishment of tasks and objectives, we can
Mhm,
forget people. So,
mhm,
really good to hear that nugget. And I hope our
mhm,
listeners remember that too. Take care of your people and promote people,
mhm,
see people.
mhm. Yep.
Last question. For HR professionals and leaders aiming to improve operational efficiency and
Mhm.
support diverse teams, what are some of the key takeaways from your years of experience that you'd recommend?
Yeah, absolutely. I was really fortunate earlier in my career that the company that I worked for had a really robust operational excellence team that delivered
Mhm.
training, workshops, really to be for employees like me to be an extension of that operational excellence team. And so
Mhm.
if there's an opportunity to get formally trained, I know Lean and Six Sigma is a big one out there that focuses on
Mhm.
operational excellence, just even to understand the fundamental principles of how you approach continuous improvement, operational excellence, and those sorts of things. That was really helpful to me because I think having that
Mhm.
foundation and then getting a role in HR operations, I could very quickly understand, okay, my team is telling me this is not working. I need
Mhm.
them to help me understand what is the root cause of why this is not working and empower
Mhm.
them to find a different solution for this so that we can get it to work better. So
Yeah.
taking in the content, but then also sharing that knowledge with your team as you're engaging in some of these continuous improvement efforts so that they feel empowered to be the expert in this problem and
Mhm.
then collaborate to come to a solution. So
Mhm.
it's a balance of kind of like getting some of the technical domain expertise, but then
Mhm.
being able to put that into practice and identify
Mhm.
opportunities and continue to like think about this is working pretty good, but hey, this could work better. How do we get it
Mhm.
to work better? And who are the right people
Mhm.
to pull in?
Mm-hmm. Like that. I think the operational excellence piece, and you had mentioned early on in your career, the company that you'd worked for
Mhm,
was really good at the micro trainings or
mhm,
really hosting a lot of ways to train employees. I noticed being in a leadership role, there's employees who embrace training and employees who do not. I think the ones who have always been more successful are the ones who lean in and really do engage with the trainings too. So I think that that's really a key piece that you shared. Embrace the training. That helps one grow in one's career, right?
Well, and I would also add to like to your point, training,
Mhm.
having training that actually is relevant to what you're doing gives you a better opportunity to put that into practice right away, right? So, I mean, how often I'm sure a lot of people can relate to like, yeah, we went to that course or we went to that
Yep,
workshop and a lot of great takeaways, but then 1 or 2 months down the road, if you hadn't have opportunities to put it into practice,
that's
it kind
true.
of goes out the door, right? And so I was like, that just in time, on demand, very relevant training. And if you can already see ways that you can leverage this within your day to
Mhm.
day, is going to help you internalize and retain that and increase your effectiveness in that particular role.
Excellent. Kerry, what's the best way for folks who hear our podcast want to get in touch with you? Would that be LinkedIn? Find you there?
Yep, absolutely. LinkedIn would be where you can find me. And it is Kerry Hermes Carrick. I never quite dropped the maiden name fully, but yep, I am available on LinkedIn and happy to connect with anyone who wants to hear a little bit more or just has some questions about my experiences that I've shared.
That. Thank you so much for sharing your
Mhm.
insights and experiences with us today. Really, your approach to talent development, cross-cultural engagement, career advancement, it's inspiring. It's good to hear. You offered simple, practical advice. So, to our listeners as well, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our conversation, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more. And we'll see you next time for an engaging episode.